All right, so the other operation that we can do with the lathe is called turning, right? So you know that by now that the lathe we use to cut round stock pieces, right? So we already talked about facing, which is actually making the front here flat. Turning would be actually working on the side of the piece, right? So let's say we want to make a piece that's like this. It actually has like an inner, yeah, it's kind of good. All right, so we want to actually reduce this by a little bit, right? So let's say that this piece that we have is actually 1 inch, right? So let's say that we want to remove, let's say we're gonna make this 0.90, so 900 thousandths plus or minus, let's see, 0.05, right? So our goal is to go, that's too much. Let's say 0.02. So let's go, our goal here will be like a 0.92 all the way, that's the one, 0.91 to 0.89, right? So this is our gap, 20 thousandths of gap there, okay? So how do we go with this operation? So this is the distance between, so the difference between this diameter and that diameter, right? So now we need to know for how long we're gonna make this piece like this. So let's say we're gonna do this for, let's say a quarter of an inch, so like 250 thousandths, okay? All right, so let's see how we're gonna do this. All right, we know that we're gonna have to know the length here. So for sure we're gonna have to zero the Y, right? We're gonna have to touch the front, the face here, and then zero Y. So we know when we use the DRO, here, we know how much we would have moved, right? At the same time that we're gonna have to zero the X, that's this axis. So after we zero, we know how much we're removing going that way. And then we're gonna try to remove roughly like a 100 thousandths there, okay? All right, so my first question is, do I have enough material sticking out here so I can remove the material that I want? And the answer is no, right? So what was the goal here for those who already watched the video about facing? We have to stick out as much material as needed so we can work, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna unlock it. I'm gonna push it out. I'm working only with one hand, but like you're gonna be working with 2 hands, okay? So let's say a quarter of an inch would be about here. So this is my safe area. This is how far I'm gonna be working from my chuck there, you know? If that's safe enough, then that's fine. Otherwise we stick out more, a little bit more, okay? If I stick out more than 2 diameters, then I wanna use something to hold my piece on this end. But for now, we can just not stick out that much, and then that will do the job, you know? So what I'm gonna do is, now that I have enough material sticking out, all right? So what did I say that we have to do first? We wanna cut this for a quarter of an inch in the Y, right? So I'm gonna have to bring it in, So we're gonna have to zero. Zero means like I'm gonna touch off here right on the boundary, or like right on the edge, because I would rather zero on a place that I'm gonna remove anyway. Because if I zero right in the center, I'm gonna make a notch there, you know, and I don't want to damage my surface. So I'm gonna go in to zero. I'm gonna try to zero right on the edge. Right there is good. So I didn't zero yet. What do I want to do? To zero, I want to turn on my equipment. And then now I'm gonna move in. So now I'm gonna move in. See? Move a little bit of material. That's my y equals to 0. That's my y equals to 0. Okay. I'm gonna stop. Now I can go that way, I can go back. And now I'm gonna go around. I'm gonna come this way. See? Now I'm gonna touch it on the side of this piece, so I know what's my x equals to 0, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start my equipment down, and I'm gonna move in. I'm gonna move in until I little scratch there. All right, so that's my x equals to 0. All right, I'm gonna stop here quick. Okay, now what did I do now? I just did this. I just put my ruler over there and my ruler over here. So my y measures how much material I'm gonna remove. So when I start cutting, I'm gonna cut until what? Until my y gets to 250 here. Okay, 250 thousandths. But how am I gonna use this guy? So the total diameter now is 1 inch, right? We wanna go to 90 thousandths, right? I always said like I want to pick a number in between, so let's aim at 90. So we're gonna go 0.900, so that's my goal, right? So if I do this math, easy math, I have to remove 100 thousandths. So instead of remove 100 thousandths in one pass, we usually take more than one pass, so we have a finishing pass, right? So let's try to do I'm gonna take 90 thousandths first, and then 5 thousandths next, right? So if I have 1 inch here, and I take 90 thousandths, I'm gonna end up with 910, right? So that's what I have to do. To remove, so this is in diameter, right? So actually, our DRO here measures in diameter. See the symbol diameter there? If I want to measure only one side, I can change to radius. But now we're measuring diameter. So if I go back, I'm going to go back to the front of my piece. See, I'm in the front. Now I'm going to move in with my cutter. See? I want to remove 90 thousandths, right? And I'm gonna show you something else. So, all right, that's good enough. I'm gonna remove almost 90 thousandths there. So what's 90 thousandths? So 90 thousandths, and so I'm reducing, so I zero on the outside of my stock, and I move it in by 90 thousandths to remove 90 thousandths in the diameter. So if I go to radius, it should tell me 45 because I'm taking 45 from this side and 45 from the back because my piece is rotating. So as long as we keep my X position in diameter there, I can always be doing, like, my math is a little easier, right? So we're gonna remove a 90 thousandths there, okay? All right, so the we're for this operation we're gonna use the auto feed, right? So for the auto feed to work, I have to have my lever on the auto feed moving forward, right? And I'm gonna pick a speed of my Y movement, right? So we want to go at like about 4,000. So see like a 0.041 on top there. So if I have BCU, right, I'm gonna be right in the box there. So I have BC. If my knob doesn't go in, what do? I have to move my chuck a little bit, and then, so I'm gonna move at the same time. Hold up. Okay. So now we're in there. So I move my chuck at the same time as I move my knob, and then the gears actually mesh, right? So I'm gonna BCU, right? If I'm BCU, then now I can, whenever I turn on my auto feed, I'm gonna be moving at 4,000ths in Y for every revolution of my chuck here, right? So the box on top is in my Y axis. The box on the bottom shows whatever it would be if I selected the X axis, right? And you can see here, there's this 120A60 because if I change these gears here, do you see that like this set of gears looks like just like that set of gears? 120, 60. So we have 120 here. Where is it? 120, 60, and 60 up there. Okay. So, alrighty. So now I'm cutting at BCU, right? That's 4,000ths there. So I'm in the correct like depth, so I can take 90 thousandths, right? So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on my equipment. Okay. Now instead of actually moving this by hand, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use my auto feed. So my auto feed, to be able to cut in the Y axis, I'm gonna pull it out and up. And then you guys are gonna notice that this wheel is gonna start moving, right? So I'm gonna go up, that wheel is moving. So now I'm gonna keep an eye on my numbers there, and I'm gonna stop before I get to 250. Let's say I'm gonna stop at like let's say 229 there, 130. What I'm gonna do now, I wanna finish moving forward with my hand wheel here until I get to 250 there, okay? So I'm gonna keep going. All right, 250 there. All right, now I'm gonna stop here quick because I wanna explain something to you, okay? So now what we just did is this. So imagine that this was my wall. I positioned my blade there. So I'm gonna exaggerate just so you guys can see. So I'm gonna put my blade here, and I'm gonna start cutting, right? And I stop it somewhere around there. So I'm gonna put my blade there again. So I removed all this material, right? But what do I want? I wanna remove and make this a 90-degree angle. See that there's a little bit of material that's under the blade there that wasn't cut? So what we wanna do, after I get to the 250 here, that's my length, what I wanna do is I wanna zero my X because this is my new depth, right? So I'm gonna 0 my X. And now what I wanna do is I wanna remove my blade going this way, okay? So I'm gonna go counterclockwise. And we're gonna see, let's see if we can zoom in there. We're gonna see that we're gonna remove a little bit of material from the edge there. Good? All right. So now, should I just like, so our plan was, I'm gonna take 90 and I'm gonna take 5 or 10, yeah, maybe 10. So let's say 90 and 5. So we get like a 905. So should I just trust that that this is where I am? No, we shouldn't. So now I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna get one of my calipers. Yeah. Get out of there. So I'm gonna close, I'm gonna 0. Now I'm gonna try to go in here and see where is my measurement, right? So where I am at 917. So I was supposed to be at 910, but I'm not. I'm actually at 917. So if I take 5, I'm still gonna be outside of my tolerance there. So as we measure, we can readjust how much we're gonna remove, right? So let's say instead of taking 5, now I'm gonna take an extra 10 thousandths, right? So technically I'm gonna go to 907 thousandths, okay? So how do I remove 10 thousandths now? So this is how much we're gonna remove now. 10 thousandths in diameter, right? So now I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna go back to the front here. Oops. Go back to the front. Now I'm gonna go in to 0. So I'm moving in. So I'm gonna go back into the, let me just show you one extra thing. If we look here, if you zoom in, see there's this little bit of metal right on the tip there that doesn't belong there. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna get a piece of honing rock here. And then what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go and put it in, and I'm gonna go from bottom up, right? To actually make that piece of aluminum to come out. So I'm there, I'm gonna go up. One piece came out. There's still this piece here on this side. Because aluminum is soft, it's easy for it to actually get stuck on our blade. All right, now it's out. See how now my corner there is not gray, not shiny, it's silver? It's because now we're good. We don't have that little piece anymore. Because actually that's gonna throw us off a little bit if you don't pay attention at that little piece there. So we pretty much wanna pay attention at that every single time. Okay, so what we want to do now, move to the front, right? Now I'm gonna move in to remove 10 thousandths, right? So I'm gonna move in a little bit more, all the way to 0, and then to -10. All right. So minus 10. Now I can turn my machine on again. Gonna wait for it to reach 400 RPMs. We're gonna be using always low and 400 RPMs there. I'm gonna use my auto feed again. So same process. I will go out and up. So it's gonna move my Y. We wanna stop before we get to 250, right? So my hand is on the lever. My eyes on the numbers, all right, 234. Again, I wanna finish up by hand. So all the way to 250. All right, now, same thing. Zero my Y because that's my new depth. And then I'm gonna counterclockwise get out of my spot there. Good. So now technically we're done. But how do I know if I'm done? I'm gonna get my caliper, close, 0. I'm gonna put it there. Yeah. What I do, what usually works many times is actually I'm gonna just push this internal jaws here on the opposite side, and then it closes for me. So now we're at 9055. Okay, so that's where I am right now. I am at 0.905. I'm gonna just drop the last 5, okay? So that's where I am. My tolerance is between 910 and 890. So I'm right in. I don't have to do any more work, right? But did you see that I always have to what? First, 0. Second, know where I'm gonna travel in Y. Know how much I'm gonna remove total in X. And then I'm gonna decide how am I gonna remove all the material that I wanna remove. I go, I take a pass, I 0 at the bottom after I finish my going all the way to the 250. I move back to make the 90-degree cut on the edge there. And then I have to measure to know where I am, come back to the numbers, see if it's where I am or where it's supposed to be, adjust the cut if I need to adjust, move on and do it again. Okay? So this is the process of turning. So now we went from 1 inch, that's the diameter of this piece, to 900 thousandths for 250 thousandths in length. All right, thanks.